80% of your profits and your revenue are going to come from 20% of your products.
Don't do 20 things. Do 2 things the best you can, create systems, hire people, add 2 more things, and just keep doing that and keep scaling it.
What's one of the number one mistakes that you see people in the personalization industry start to make?
The number one mistake is
you need to spend 90% of your energy focused on your main products. You can't be the best at one thing if you're doing everything. You really have to focus on your core products to show your customer base that you are the expert in this and you are providing them a solution to their problems.
You need to believe in whatever product you're going to sell. Like, this is going to work. I'm going to be profitable with it. It's going to go for a long time. I understand my customer base. Like, they're going to like this product.
And I think in the personalization industry, if you're a laser engraving shop, you need to be people's right-hand man. Yeah. And they know where to go when they're needing something custom.
The more you talk and interact with people, right, you're essentially building a relationship. Because again, people aren't buying, they're trying to trust.
So John, who is this episode going to be geared towards?
This episode is geared towards anybody that is making sales today or tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So if you're like a small business, if you're at home, if you're even a fledgling business, like if you're doing $500,000, $1 million a year or more, this is for anybody that's going to make a sale soon, today, tomorrow, within the next hour. I think there's a lot of learnings that we're going to have here from our past, from what we've learned on, how you can expand and make bigger sales for yourself.
Yeah. So if you're in the customization industry, if you do laser engraving, UV printing, DTF, UV DTF, vinyl, all the above, you're going to want to listen up to this one, because John and I have been, business partners for over 15 years. And one of our first businesses wasn't even really customization or the personalization industry, but it led us into the customization industry, which really allowed us to really get bigger margins and be unique in the industry. So I think that was an important learning from the beginning when we started doing business.
Absolutely. And I think some of the major things that we've learned over time, that we not only learned, but we have fallen victim to, is like, foot traffic. Where does it come from? How does it come? Where is it? Where are the people? Where are the eyes? Where are the feet? Where are the shoes? What's going on? Like, it's always a question I think that comes up between us at a constant, maybe even a weekly, where are the people? Where's the business, right?
Yeah. Where are the eyeballs, where the foot traffic? I think it's always changing. So it's important to kind of see what other makers are doing and what the industry is following. So hopefully by the end of this podcast, you'll get a better understanding of where to focus your traffic and whether it's online sales or wholesale accounts. You get a little bit of deeper dive here from myself and John on what works for us and what we recommend. So let's dive into it. What do you say?
Yeah, let's go for it. I think there's a lot of learnings here. I'd love to be quick. I would love to be strategic and love to give some heavy hitters. So, folks have the opportunity to take advantage of it.
Yeah. So the first part here I want to talk about is, let's talk about a little bit about the mistakes, first of all, that makers tend to make the most. And in your experience, tell me, like, what's one of the number one mistakes that you see people in the personalization industry start to make?
I think one of the biggest mistakes, the number one mistake, is chasing trends. I think chasing these big trends, chasing quick sales, chasing these opportunities that don't feed your why, that don't feed your brand, that have nothing to do with you, except that I see that a lot of folks are like, oh my God, I can make a quick buck. And, in our history, in our experience, a quick buck has never been, it's never been a quick buck. You'll make the quick buck today, but I feel like it becomes a massive expense going forward. And it might seem good today, but as far as tomorrow goes, it's heavy on your business, on your finances, and you yourself. So I think there's a lot of caveats to that, and I would say to be careful about that.
Yeah. I think as fast as things go up, they can go down just as fast. So if you're catching a trend, well, you better catch the next trend, because otherwise you're just going to be on a downward spiral. So one of the trends that we've seen recently this week, posted in some of the Facebook groups and the maker groups, was an online charcuterie board. I think it was offered on Walmart. It had that plastic lid to it, right? And what Walmart was doing, I don't know if they're clearing them out or what they're doing, but they're highly discounted down to what, like $12?
Yeah.
And makers are jumping on this deal. Now, I think there's two ways to look at this. Yeah, this is a trend because it's a good item, but there's also the other way to look at it is people could also use this as sampling to kind of test their industry, test their market, test their customers on if this is a product they like. Now, the issue becomes that product might not be a reliable source on Walmart being at that product, because you don't know what Walmart's doing with that product. why is it gone from $30 down to $12? Everyone's gobbling them up. Well, if your customers do like it, then you might run into a bit of a problem because your source for that could either price go back up to that $30, or they could run out of inventory, and then you're leaving your customers high and dry. So how do you look at that in those scenarios?
Yeah, I think one of the best things that I've ever, I've talked to makers before, and they say that to have a long-standing business, you need to make sure that your suppliers have been there for a long time. And that your suppliers, supporting the community, and that for a fact that when you introduce a product, that it's going to have longevity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in your case, what you just said, you have no idea what's going to happen with that product. Price is going to go up. Maybe there's no stock. Maybe it's a seasonal. And if you go into it and all of a sudden you have 5 core products and you bring this one product and you put all your effort into it, you have to take photography, you have to go do mock-ups, you have to make real samples, then you're going and emailing your friends,
Yeah.
your customers, you're talking to them, you're taking it at trade shows, and you're putting so many resources. Well, you got to take that away from something,
Yeah.
right? And you're taking it away from your core business. So you just really have to be careful on whether you're going to put all your effort into that one new trendy product and take away from your core products, or like you kind of said, you go into it strategically. You go into it and you do product testing and you tell yourself like, hey, I don't know if this product is going to exist tomorrow,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm just testing a charcuterie board, right? And if this works out, if I buy these 10, if I buy these 30 and I sell out, I know that tomorrow I may have to shift to a more reliable source for a charcuterie board. But if you don't go in with that kind of plan, I feel like a lot of the folks that got into the charcuterie board are going to ask themselves 1 week later, what now? Where's
Yeah.
the next trend? And if you just, and this is where you lose your money. If you try to catch that next trend and the trend after that and the trend after that, and if it's not profitable, the little bit of profit you made off of the 10 or 20 on the trend you did catch, you're going to lose out on the next 3.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was alluding to. But to answer your question, that's kind of the belief there.
Yeah, and I didn't even really think about that when you mentioned, you're chasing these trends, but you are putting all this time and effort into the photography, the description, the sales itself, and then how do you even price that item? Do you price it off of the $12 you bought it for, or the potential of that blank going back up to $30? And there's difficulty within that. So the takeaway for me is on chasing a trend like that, when you got a good deal on a product, or maybe you're getting things from Marshalls that you don't know if they're going to be there again, is you make it clear to your customers that this is a limited time only. You kind of really need to step back and not spend so much time and effort into all the photography and making it picture perfect, because you need to move on to the next thing once that's gone, and keep chasing if that's the plan you want to go.
Yeah. And I just want to preface all this with, it might just sound like Mark and I are talking about, whatever is happening today, but that's definitely not the case. When we started our business,
Mhm.
right, we actually went to Walmart. We got the Rawlings baseball. We were probably one of the first ones.
Yeah.
We went to Michael's and we got the wood box. But then we always knew that we were going to go to the source,
Yeah.
right? When we were doing the Rawlings baseballs, they first came from Walmart, then they came from Dick's,
Yeah.
because that was the next place we knew, from Dick's Sporting Goods, that was the next place we knew that that was going to have those goods. And then the next thing we did was we went to Premium Outlet, went to Rawlings, got an account, went right to the source, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
we had a plan with that. We knew when we came out with a product, we were going to test small, test it correctly, put this kind of effort, and then slowly scale it and really make sure our costing was right, the product was like we wanted it, and then really launch it and scale it.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. I think that ties in like the smart product testing that we were doing back then. And another example we have was when we were testing the cigar boxes. We had found some boxes at Walmart, and we were staining them.
Yeah.
We were cutting felt that we were getting from Joanne's fabric and inserting the felt. We were making them as premium as we could with those cheap craft boxes. And then we were chasing around Walmarts, and they didn't carry very much stock of it. Then we started going to Michael's and Hobby Lobby, hoping they had the same type of product, the same dimensions, and we were buying up all that inventory. But then we started to think like, well, the plan is that if this is a successful product, sampling and testing in our industry, what's next? We needed a more reliable source. Then we found DeReese, which I think they've been bought out and they've changed names. I
Yeah.
don't know what their name is now. We started buying from DeReese Wholesale, and that was going good. And then we started buying DeReese out. And then we were really scaling that product. And then we're like, okay, we need to find a factory overseas where we can order a container load of that. And that was kind of the progression we had for going from, product testing, sampling, and we're scaling that from Walmart, Michael's, DeReese, and then into our own factory.
Absolutely. And I think that's the lesson to be learned there. Even if you catch a trend, make sure you have a bigger plan. I think that's it. Make sure you have a bigger plan. And it's not that you saw something and you're like, this is what I'm going to hop onto. And my entire business changes for this one product. I think that's where the biggest problem is. Because if you catch that trend and if that product doesn't last, all of a sudden you not only are losing at the trend, but you forgot about your core products. And now your customer is confused on what you actually sell because the trend is gone. And now it's like you put so much time and effort into it that it ends up being confusing for your customer.
I got a couple other points here before we move on to the next one, but let's talk about carrying too many SKUs and kind of like you mentioned, you're getting lost in your focus. And what happens, talk to me about when a business carries too many SKUs, what can happen to the business?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, well, there's two big things. One big thing is confusion for you and confusion for your customer. If you're carrying too many SKUs, you first of all don't have no clue what you're advertising or how to advertise it or what to do. And by the way, I'm not saying this because I've solved this problem. We have this problem, right? I want you guys to know just because we're on this podcast doesn't mean we have figured everything out. But we have this problem. We have so many SKUs. We have a difficult time showcasing those SKUs to everybody. What is this product? What does it do? How does it work? And there's a lot that goes into it. But the other problem you run into by having and carrying too many SKUs and not having a system to properly market and sell them is that your cash flow and your profit is sitting in your warehouse, is sitting in your garage, is sitting in your room. And I think nowadays, with a lot of folks trying to go direct to China, I think they don't understand that because what they're thinking about is I got this product cheap, but what you're not thinking is you have to buy so much of it that the profit that you should have had in your bank is now sitting in your room as product that is unsold. And I think those two things are probably the two biggest things of having too many SKUs.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me into the 80-20 rule that we can talk about just briefly. And I want to emphasize the 80-20 rule. And really 80% of your profits and your revenue are going to come from 20% of your products. And so really you got to decide what are you going to focus on? What is that 20% of products that's going to bring in 80% of the revenue? And really, I think the businesses that are winning are focusing on just that. They're focusing on their 20% and realizing that that's going to come and bring in 80% of my revenue.
Yeah. And I think, again, like we mentioned before, this is reality for Mark and I. We're working on this. So what is MakerFlo known for? What products are we known for? We're known for our tumblers. We're known for our marble products. We're known for selling true flat plywood. We're known for these 4, 5, or 6 products that we're marketing, but we have so many more, right? And so the goal here is to focus on 5, 6 core products. And then the goal is to focus on customer service. Then the goal is to focus on other things where we hope that you come by and check out our other products. So this is in action, right? This is not like some chat GPT thing we found. We're actually doing this and this is happening in real life. And we're learning that that's how you do it. Now, the way we scale that is we slowly, as we create our systems, we can slowly keep advertising more products, include more products and do a better job of it and scale it further. But we definitely need those systems to make sure that we can expand wide.
Yeah, I think you want to focus on the fewest things that bring in the most profit.
Absolutely.
And what comes to mind for me on that is the In-N-Out fast food restaurant. They focus on the fewest things, burgers and fries, brings in the most profit. That is their core. That is what they focus on.
They do it best.
They do it the best. And then from there, they can add on drinks and the chocolate shakes and then the toppings and the upsells and all the other stuff. But they focus on their 20% core, and that brings in 80% of the revenue.
Yeah, I think, that's such a great point. Like animal style. I don't even know what animal style was till somebody was like, did you know about animal style? I'm like, what about animal style?
Or you get a 4x4 burger, which is four patties and 4 pieces of cheese. Like, I had no idea they have this hidden menu that makes up the other, little percent.
Yeah. And I think that's the lesson to be learned. They message the core. The rest of it is messaged by everybody else, right? Everybody talks about it. They go in there and they search it and they get excited about it, and then it's talked about, and then you're known about it.
I like it.
Yeah. So I think that's a very big lesson. I think that's a huge lesson, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're still figuring it out. I don't think we haven't figured out, but we know that it's working just because we've implemented some of these things the last 6 months, and we've seen a lot of success. Like, we saw the hammers sell out in 45 minutes because we put our focus there and we wanted to make it a core product. We've seen True Flat be absolutely successful for us because we focused on it. We made it a priority to make it a top 5 products. Our marble handle, charcuterie, and coasters. So we know the core 5 products. I'm sure the warehouse knows the core 5 products.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
know our core products, and we're putting our focus towards it, and we're actually crushing it. So I think
Awesome.
enough of that. I
Yeah.
think we've kind of
Just to
drilled that
close that
home.
out, I was just thinking if you're a small business, what are your burger and fries products that make 80% of your revenue? And then what are your animal style and chocolate shake products that bring in the other 20% of your revenue?
Yeah,
Think about it in those terms, help you get across that roadblock.
I love it.
So let's move into the next thing and kind of really knowing your power products. And we talk about the 20% of your power products, but like how does a business, really identify what their true best sellers are? At what point are you like, this is my best seller?
I think I might be a little different than what you might hear this way, but I think the number one thing to figure that out is to ask yourself how much you believe in the product first, because I don't think most folks realize this, and this is why the trend, the jumping on trends happens so much. I feel like a lot of the bigger businesses that we see, a lot of the bigger businesses that we saw did not jump on the charcuterie board trend,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's because it doesn't fit there. Like, it's not an easy supplier. It's not a product that they know. They don't have the photography. They don't have the resources. They don't have the time. They're busy on their core products, selling their core products and getting orders for it, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like they don't, it's not that they don't believe in the product because it's a bad product. They just don't believe that they can sell that product right now because they have all these other things going on, and their principles that they follow, it doesn't fit that product. Like, this is not a 2-week sale. I need a home run product for longevity, right? And so I think you need to believe in whatever product you're going to sell. Like, this is going to work. I'm going to be profitable with it. I'm going to put these resources in it. It's going to go for a long time. I understand my customer base. Like, they're going to like this product. It's not like, I'm selling horse saddles, and all of a sudden a charcuterie board, and there's a deal, and all of a sudden you have a charcuterie board come in. Well, unless you're selling a charcuterie board for a horse, it does not fit your brand, and
Yeah.
it's probably not going to fit your customer, right?
Yeah.
So it makes no sense. So I think there's a lot of that you have to really have in mind. But the other way that, knowing your power products, that I would love to speak to is, at MakerFlo, we really started doing lines. Lines in the business is like a product line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really making sure that our website is not a hodgepodge of random stuff. And I think it's very important to know your key lines and your key, power products by really understanding where your brand is going, who you're servicing. Because, like I said, you'll have a demographic you're servicing, and if your products are all over the place, like, it's not going to fit your brand. And when it doesn't fit your brand, and your customer thinks you're just coming up with random stuff, they're not going to align with it well. And so I think these are like the first core things that you need to really understand in order for that product to even come. Because I think you can make anything a power product, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could technically, that tree behind you can be it's a fake tree. It could be a power product, right?
Yeah.
But if you're selling charcuterie boards again, you're probably not going to sell that tree. But if you are someone who sells fake trees and that style of tree, it's going to probably end up being a power product.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really need to know who you are, what your why is, what your brand is. And I think that's where it starts first, to make any product a power product. That's
Yeah.
kind of my couple of
Yeah,
things.
I would say that, focus beats variety. You need to spend 90% of your energy focused on your main products. You can't be the best at one thing if you're doing everything. You
Mm-hmm.
really have to focus on your core products to show your customer base that you are the expert in this and you are providing them a solution to their problems because you're dialed in on those core products. You're not just offering anything and everything that you come across in the customization industry, or when you're at Michael's or Joanne's looking for products. Like, no, you have this dialed in, you're spending your energy on that, and then you continue to improve that and continue to make tweaks to those products. I think that's important too, so that those products don't go stale, and there's always something new to your core products too. You got to keep improving those time and time again.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and then I think, another thing is knowing your power products. What makes it even more valuable and scalable, is combining the power products to make it even more powerful. I think bundling your core products and power products. We do it at MakerFlo, where we're telling folks like, okay, take the 11-piece charcuterie board or the handle board and combine it with the coaster.
Mm,
The coaster we've sold out faster than we have the charcuterie boards,
yeah.
right? And we know that, okay, when we ask to combine this, ask to combine that, there's a reason we're doing it, because they are our power products, and we know that they will be power products for our customers as well. But taking the products that really work well for you, that you're focused on, and bundling them together, then you're making super power products.
Yeah, no, I like that. If you're adding to your core line, you can really increase your average order value. You can get more revenue. You can, really upsell and get more value to your customers by bundling things. And with our Marvel product line, that's a great opportunity to do that. We've got some new Marvel products coming out too that the customers can start bundling to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with that being said, it's really it's great for power products if you, again, I just want to reiterate it. You have to believe in it. You have to be intentional with it. Don't let any random product come into your business just because it's something that is hot right now,
Mhm.
because you may make a buck today, but it's going to cost you tomorrow. And I
Yeah.
think that's super important if it's off brand, because just for a buck, you don't want to lose your customer base. It
Yeah.
doesn't make
So,
sense.
what would you say to somebody that really just focuses on right now? They're currently focused on tumblers in their business, and all they really make are tumblers. But they saw the opportunity for the charcuterie board and to maybe make some of those. What kind of advice would you give that specific company?
Yeah, I think those do complement each other, firstly, right? And like, let's say if you and I were doing this and we're introducing a new product, I'd probably ask you like, okay, is this like a quick hit, or do we want this to be a long-term thing? If it's a quick hit, then I would literally put that in my business. I'm like, hey, we have a great opportunity to try to introduce
Mhm.
something new. We're doing a limited release and we want to see how the product does, right? And you buy 20 of them. Now, if you sell out, that basically tells me, holy smokes, we have a product here. Then I go out in the market and look for more charcuterie
Okay.
boards, right?
Yeah.
But if it doesn't sell out, then you don't dive into it more. And that also kind of gives you an opportunity to ask yourself, how much of your time, effort, and focus do you want to put in this? If you're trying to make it a one-hit wonder, if you know it's only these 10 that you've purchased that you just want to sell for a profit, well, don't forget that you have core products, and spend that 90% of your energy on that one hit wonder,
Yeah.
right? You just spend 30% of the energy because it's only 10 of them,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a huge mistake, that you just dive into this product and do everything and forget about your core.
I think there's other things that we sometimes forget about too, are going to be like the actual manufacturing processes in our engraving shops. If you only do tumblers, well, you probably have a rotary set up on your machine. And now you're going to offer something like a charcuterie board or a cutting board. Well, now you have to transition back and forth between your regular flatbed table, your rotary, back and forth. Do I need different cleaning supplies? Do I even need different shipping boxes for this type of product? Because it's a product never have to ship before if you're shipping
So
it.
true.
And then if you've got team members in there training them on what to look for and how to clean it and how to engrave it, dialing in the settings, there's a lot more to it than as you might think. It's so easy to come out with a new product.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden costs with those one hit wonder products, or those trendy products,
Yeah.
right? And not understanding your power. And actually, you're 100% right. I could just totally see doing tumblers
How
and these
pissed you would
charcuterie
be.
boards, and being like, oh my god, I got 5 orders of these, and the 2 came in. Then you do those 2, and then, oh my god, another, and then you're just like switching back and forth, driving yourself crazy if you just have one
Well, you know
machine.
what you know what ends up happening, right?
What's that?
You get another machine.
Yeah,
You have one for tumblers, and you got one for your flat items, and there you go. Problem solved.
yeah. Well, I think there's other caveats to that, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right, let's dive into the next segment here, and I want to talk about the visual advantage and kind of showing your work daily, and what does it mean to show the process of your personalization shop, and what advantages does that have when you're being visual to your customer base and your potential customer base? Kind of talk to me about that, John.
So let's not spend too much time on this segment, because this segment itself we could
Yeah,
talk for 45 minutes. But I'm actually gonna start with the point first. Okay. And the point of this entire section of the visual advantage is that is that if they don't see it, they don't know you exist.
sure.
Right. So if this segment, as we're talking about it, if you're like, this is too much, just remember that if they don't see it, they don't know that you exist. So my first thing would be, just do anything, to be out there,
Yeah.
to be seen, for you to be seen as a business and for them to see your product. But there are three things that we have laid out in this section that we kind of discussed, and we're even working on. I think one of them is to actually to show visually, right? Meaning through video or photos, your process, to show them what you do, And I think there's a lot of things that like customers will see from that. One is going to be, how prideful you are that you're doing it yourself. It's not being, manufactured overseas. And I think a lot of the small intricacies of seeing you like get the case box, bringing it in, opening it up. I think a lot of people just think like, oh, I'm going to order this and you're going to snap your finger and kaboom, like the product is engraved. No, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of unboxing. It takes QA even on your end to open it up, make sure it's a perfect product, put it in the machine, do the settings, clean it, rebox
Yeah.
it, print the label, like package the box again. And when I say it now, it sounds like a lot of work,
Yeah.
and so I think showing that is not a problem,
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love the how it's made show? Because
Yeah,
it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's interesting to see that. What I like to say is really show that your customers every detailed step along the way, like you were almost telling them or teaching them how to do it.
sure.
Right. And then the customer might be like, oh, that's how it's done. Well, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. Let me just hire you to do that and you can have this order. Right.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the mindset I like to think about it, is like really dialing in how detailed and how long it takes to do it, how you need expensive machinery to do this. And that'll kind of give the customer the understanding like, wow, okay, this person might be the expert. They know what they're doing here. Yeah, I do trust them with my money and I do want that order.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the actually today that's one of the most integral things, because essentially the customer wants to trust you before they buy from you, and I think that really builds a lot of trust. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. So I think the next video that, visually that customers or your shop should be showing, we talked about is showcasing the finished product and the order. Now, I think this goes into like actual the delivery of the
Mhm.
order. How are you presenting that? How are you packaging that? What is the recipient's reaction to that product? Are they absolutely in love with it? Document that and show that, and then also show like what solution are you providing to your customer base. If you've got a realtor that is always last minute on their gifts and they need something the day of, and there you are with your solution, you're able to engrave something and deliver it on the spot, you need to document that, because other people are going to see that, wow, this is the solution that your shop offers.
Yeah.
Last minute gifts, speedy turnarounds, excellent quality product, amazing packaging. Those are the things you need to show. So the finished product is very important to show in your shop. Obviously, that's the main thing you're selling, and customers need to see what you've got.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. You're 100% right. Imagine, I mean, just in my mind, like think of about a video where it's just simply, whatever you want to, whatever your business name is, and you just open the box with the engraving. You're essentially just trying to get that emotion out. So imagine if somebody's watching behind their phone, if it's from their POV, and you just open the box, it's a simple video,
Mhm.
but it's going to get them to think like, wow, like I'm going to give this to my husband or my wife or, to my kids or my grandmother, whoever it is. And this is the feeling they're going to have. And that little feeling is all it might take. It's a 10-second video,
Yeah.
right? So I think that content becomes integral. And then adding to that, if you're going towards business, is exactly what you said. Speed, like put speedy delivery with the opening the box, and a realtor might be like, wow, my customer is going to see this and they have speedy delivery. Okay, you cater to realtors. Okay, you cater to landscapers. Okay, you cater to electricians, engineers, architects, whatever, whoever you want to cater towards. But giving that feeling that okay, you cater to them, but this is what your client's going to see. 10-second video, 10-second ad. It doesn't
Yeah.
take a long time to do that. It just needs the right lighting. You need your phone and you need a finished product, and that's it. And you can do that today.
Yeah. And think about visualizing your client's client, right? You're
Yes.
providing a service for your client that's giving it to their client. If you can document that experience, and if you can get the reaction of your customer's customer, I think that would be like above and beyond, right? And I like to think about closing gifts. And usually when you say the word closing gifts, you think of a realtor. But really, closing gifts is really across all the different types of businesses.
Yes.
If you got a cabinet business and you closed a deal on a new home, or you're putting in new cabinets, boom, there's a closing gift. If you sold a HVAC unit for a new home, boom, there's a closing gift. If you're a dentist and you got a new client, there's a closing gift.
Yeah.
If you can give gifts for your customers and document visually, through videos and pictures, that's the solution you provide, I think that would absolutely crush it for your sales.
Yeah. And for what you're saying, I know for a lot of folks this might be difficult. It's a difficult ask, right? So one thing you can do is even take your reviews and just post it over an unboxing.
Mm-hmm.
You open it up and it has, reviews coming at the top. And you can do these things today to let potential clients know that this is legit, right? And I think it's a matter of a 10-second, 20-second video and some clipping, and you're done. It
Yeah.
shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And the last video that you should visually be showing, on your social medias, on your websites, is really just a personal story, right? Why would somebody want to buy from you? What makes it personal? Where's the connection at? Right. You need to showcase to your customers who you really are. Are you a family guy? Do you have kids? What do you like to do for fun? And really connecting in other ways rather than just sell, sell, sell. And what else would you have to say about kind of just showing off your personal story?
Yeah, no, I think it's just more about humanity. I think it's just showing that you're another human being that's running a business, and just letting them know, like, hey, I'm just like you, just running this business, and I mean well, and just sharing your story a little bit. You don't have to. There's a lot of folks like to show their family, but you don't have to. You don't have to, showcase your kids or things like that. But even speaking to like why you started the business goes a long way. What inspired you to start this business goes a long way, and just sharing a little bit goes a long way to build that trust with your customer, because again, people aren't buying, they're trying to trust, and then they'll make the purchase, right? Give them a reason to support you, and they will. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate that, John. Let's dive into our next subject here. And I think this next section, we're going to talk about dominating your local market. And this is kind of where makers and customization businesses need to start. Don't work backwards and try to go nationwide and globally and e-commerce and marketplaces and all this big stuff. Let's start locally, John, and let's talk about dominating your local market. And with that being said, what local industries like to buy personalized gifts? Let's start there. What comes to your mind when I talk about an industry locally that needs gifts?
Yeah, I think realtors, title agencies, you got car dealerships, you got landscaper. I mean, law offices.
Mhm.
Probably find 10 different businesses that you could service,
Yeah.
right? And I think honestly, local is probably the most um, underserved market, if anything. It hurts my feelings when I hear that, hey, I went to this big company for something personalized, and I'm like, there's like 100 people doing engraving in your area.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's lacking there is, again, what we talked about, foot traffic and eyes. Just because they don't know you exist locally, they're going online to shop. That's
Mhm.
just that's it. That's the simplicity of it, right? Just because they don't know you exist,
Yeah.
they're going to Google to find the person that can do it. And the person that shows up is the one with the most ad money. And that becomes the big corporations.
Yeah.
So if you just dominate locally, right? If you just show up where they're looking locally before they go online, then they don't have to make that Google search.
Yeah. I feel like everybody likes to have their right-hand man, and that is locally. I
Yes.
have my right-hand man for my landscaping. I have my right-hand man for my pool cleaner. If my AC goes out, I know who to go to. I have my handyman. I have my right-hand man, that guy that washes my car. Like, you always want to have that person locally that you can go to, that you trust, you like, and you believe in. And I think in the personalization industry, if you're a laser engraving shop, you need to be people's right-hand man, and they
Yeah.
know where to go when they're needing something custom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've seen you do this multiple times. I'll ask Mark, like, hey, Mark, landscaping, I haven't found somebody good. Everything is like a text away for you.
Mhm.
You have your people and you're connected with them, and you like never Googled for like a handyman or a landscaper, right? Because you're so connected. And that's because whoever these folks are have stayed connected with you,
Yeah.
right? And those connections are so very important. And I think that just shows me local domination is something that most makers don't think of. I see folks trying to get on Etsy and trying to get on, build a website and do all these things. All these things are important, but you're totally and completely ignoring local business. And that's massive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Another thing that comes to my mind, local business, is local stores, and whether it's a gift shop or a boutique or a specialized store, trying to get into those stores. Now, John, talk to me a little bit about what we like to call the drop off a sample and the follow up strategy. What do you recommend for that type of strategy for customization shops?
Yeah, I think the title of this podcast is so perfect. It's like hustling backwards, right? One big thing we always tell folks is always drop off a sample, or at least use our free sell sheets to email them or reach out to them or even print it and drop that off. If you can't drop off it, if you can't afford to make physical samples, at least drop that off, right? But I think the way you hustle backwards is when you don't do a follow up.
Mm.
You drop off these samples. You're thinking that, hey, I dropped this off within an hour, I'm going to get an answer.
Yeah.
That's our expectation,
Living on
right?
a prayer.
Yeah, it's like it's going to come in an hour. I'm going to get that call for like a million tumblers,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't happen, right? It's like a day, it's like 2 days, it's 3 days, and in our mind, we're going like, oh man, like they hated that. That was like my quote was probably too high. My this was too much. My that was too much. And all these assumptions, we just kill ourselves with it. Instead, if you just picked up the phone and be like, hey, my name is, John, I'm calling from MakerFlo. I dropped off these samples. I'd spent some time doing. I researched your company. Absolutely loved it. La 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 la. I was wondering if you had the chance, to check out my samples. Maybe we can work together, right? And you realize that, oh yeah, I was like out of town, or the decision maker was out of town. They're gonna be back on Monday, right? And all of a sudden, what you have to realize, and I always say this, is that don't think of all these touch points as a loss. Think of all these touch points as relationship building. The more you talk and interact with people, right, you're essentially building a relationship. I'd watched this movie a long time ago, and this always stuck with me. And it said that the relationship between two people is a journey. It never ends. So it's up to you if you give up on it, but it's a journey, right? Between you and I, or between me and Danny, or Sam and I, or whoever I meet, it's up to both of us to maintain and have that journey. So as a salesperson, when you drop that off, you've started this relationship. Treat it like a journey. You have to call and say hi sometimes. You have to say happy birthday sometimes. You have to check up sometimes. And when you build that relationship authentically, you know, it goes a long way for you in the future.
Yeah. I like to look at those drop off samples as a marketing opportunity, not a marketing cost or expense, because it's an opportunity to earn their business, to earn their trust. Okay, what's a $7, $8 item? Maybe you make a luggage tag. Cost you a few bucks. Maybe you make a tumbler with their logo on it. Cost you $8 plus your time.
Mhm.
But who else is doing that? Who is really dropping off samples and getting the opportunity to get in front of businesses and get their business? I've never gotten one walking through my door. It's not happening. So it's a very unique opportunity that you have to drop off a real sample, get their logo, vectorize it yourself, put it on a product and drop it off. And then,
Yeah.
like you said, it all comes into the follow up. You can't live on a prayer and expect them to just reach out to you. You need to be the one calling, emailing, send them a digital catalog, use MakerFlo sales sheets to showcase the product again digitally, email that over and be persistent with your communication with them. And eventually you'll get the order, or they might just say, hey, I'm not interested, and you move on. Maybe put them on your back book to call them, in 6 months to a year and follow up, and always keep those point of contacts going.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also keep in mind, you never know. They might love your approach. They might love your persistence. And if it's not them, it could be somebody they know.
Mm-hmm.
Keep this in mind. It could be somebody they might recommend you to be like, hey, it's not in my budget, but I know this home builder that would probably love to put a charcuterie board in every home they build.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden you get an order for 200, cutting boards. And again, I'm not saying this out of something I found on ChatGPT. This actually happened. And so, it ended up being 200 cutting boards, not once, but multiple times. Right. And so these things do happen. It's just that you have to be persistent and you have to make sure you're right there when you need them.
Yeah. I think that's the key right there. A lot of these times, once you get the order, this is going to be a repeat client for yours. Once you've got them, now you have to nurture that and get them again for that next year, that next season, that next occasion. And now, boom, your book of business keeps growing because of that one $10 sample you dropped off. And that sample you dropped off with their logo on it, it's not going in the trash
That's correct.
like a flyer or a magazine or anything else. That's going to sit there in their office. They're going to use it. And sooner or later, they're going to be like, you know what? I do need these. And you're going to be top of mind just because your product's sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
That excites me.
Yeah. I see that. You got lit up.
Yeah, but it's happened. It's happened in the past for our businesses. We've dropped off samples and we've talked to businesses and we've just let them have the product. And yeah, we follow up, but then maybe 6 months later or a year later, they're like, "Hey, remember this? I do want this now." And you're like,
Yeah.
"Holy crap!"
Yeah.
And
Can't
it's
believe they came back.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that drop off a sample strategy is super important to really dominate your sales locally, and kind of to wrap up this local sales market and industry. We've touched on this in the past too. I just wanted to reiterate it to get kind of out there in the industry. I recommend joining BNI groups, chambers of commerces, get involved in like your kids' schools and communities, nonprofit opportunities, and really just getting out there as much as possible to connect and build those relationships. Do you have anything else in mind?
No, I think I 100% agree with you. I think it's where the eyes are. Focus on whether you want to do single sales, whether you want to attack businesses, depending on who you want to attack. See where a majority of those people are going, where the foot traffic and the eyes are, and make sure you're focusing, on those things. And don't run around trying to cater to everything. Just focus on one or two things. Focus and do the best you can. Create systems around it. Once you create systems around it, then you can focus on other things and create systems around it. Hire people, and then you slowly start scaling. I think that's the most important thing out of all this. Don't do 20 things, do two things the best you can, create systems, hire people, add two more things, and just keep doing that and keep
Yeah.
scaling it.
So before you try to go nationally, make sure that you're unavoidably locally. That's kind of
100%.
the key term I like to
I,
close that with.
I love that. I love that. I see too many people asking, I don't have enough sales. I'm competing with the biggest, this and that. And if you go check the local market, I think we'd all be shocked on how nobody is dominating it. So
Awesome. Let's dive on into the next segment, the next part of our podcast here. This part, John, I want to talk about is really diving into trade shows, conferences, pop up shops, anywhere that there might be an opportunity to sell, whether it's a local, sales opportunity or a, craft fair or something like that. Let's talk about these types of shows and how there is real money to be made in there at the shows, but not just the show, but also the follow up as well. And I think that's where a lot of makers, a lot of businesses fail to succeed is they're so focused on just getting the sale there at the show. They're not there gathering any other information, collecting customer data to follow through. And I think that's kind of the real opportunity. So talk to me about, when a maker goes to a weekend show, what kind of strategy would you suggest to them?
So I have a couple of things with this. One thing is if you're going to shows just because you enjoy it and you don't want to make it into a business, it's going to be a little bit different. So if you're just going to the show to sell and you're just like, hey, I just enjoy this. This is my retirement. This is what I just do on the
Sure.
side.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that the one thing I would recommend you doing is just building a brand, right? Just build a brand so you have fun with it. And the reason I say that is because when you build a brand, when you have the same colors, you have similar setup, your logo is on point. When you're wearing the same thing, it becomes a lot of fun because people come looking for you, right? That's essentially you're going out into the community to hang out with the community and sell items and fill your time with joy and satisfaction, right? So give yourself a chance by just branding yourself a little bit. And I think if you just did that, like I love do you remember at Pinners we had that coffee lady?
Yeah.
And like the first time we saw her, we didn't forget her. And I still remember her deal, 5 for 20. I still can't
The
believe it. It was
coffee
five.
cakes.
The coffee cakes,
Yeah.
right? And it was incredible. And her setup was simple. Their system was simple. And we were trying to give her advice. And we're like, guys, I have my system. And she sat there for I think the last half of the day of the show. So there's 2 days long. The last half of the day, because they couldn't break down early, they sold out, right? And people go looking for this lady, right? And she just kind of built a brand, and she's like, I don't want to make a lot of money. I just enjoy doing this, and I enjoy cooking. And so I feel like for a lot of folks that want to, and the only reason I talk about these folks is because you cannot have these trade shows go into the red for you, right? I mean, even if you're retired and you're enjoying it, you need it to kind of be profitable so you can keep doing it. So that's why I include these guys, in the conversation. But let's say you want to make this into a strategy and a full-fledged business. I think the most important part with the branding I spoke about, because branding is super important, especially as this market has more people coming into it that are doing similar things. You need to make sure that you're separating yourself from the rest of the competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have your branding straight, right? And all these things I talked about branding, keep that in mind. But in addition to that, you have to have a follow-up strategy. you have to be collecting emails. You have to be collecting phone numbers. You have to be collecting a lot of these things. And the reason is you want to follow up. Now, even if you don't want to be salesy, it's okay. At least you can follow up with, hey, I'm going to be here next, right? If you don't want to, and you want to make sure that you at least have their information to, again, continue that journey from when you first met them. You want to have this story built. You want to have these folks coming back and listening to you. And I think super important that that follow up is there.
Yeah. So when we used to do craft shows in the past, I remember we were so dialed in on just trying to make our money back, right? And we kind of lost focus on what our true business was. And now, after learning those experiences of not trying to focus so much on the current customers that are coming in, we try to look for those big fish.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for business owners. We're looking for opportunities to sell beyond the show. And I think I see too many people sitting back in their booths at their craft shows or their vendor shows, and they're just chilling, expecting the big fish to walk into them, right? Well, you really have to put yourself out there. You really have to make your booth an experiential booth. You have to be doing something fun. You have to do a spin a wheel. Have a box where they can put their business cards in for a giveaway. Now, if you got a business card, they're probably a business owner or they're in some sort of position to buy gifts. You can't just sit back there and expect people to come in. You got to have a freebie. Have a freebie in exchange for an email address, right?
Yeah.
And start gathering that list so you can follow up with people to get sales beyond just the show itself.
But then with that, just stating this, I think I see that a lot. But then the follow up is not there.
Correct.
Yeah. Keep in mind, you're not doing a giveaway. You're not doing a giveaway to give away. You're doing a giveaway. Yes, you are doing a giveaway to give away, but the reason why this started is because you get leads.
Yeah.
Right. And make sure you're following up, make sure you're thanking them to come to your booth and let them know a little bit about yourself and start building that journey, start building that relationship. Right. And okay, it might not result in a sale tomorrow, right? But at least it's going to start a relationship. It might result in a sale the day after, right? It might not be as quick, but you need to do that today in order for something to happen in the future.
Yeah. Now, this might be a little bit beyond, people that are in the beginning phases of their business, but if you're gathering emails, you really have to systemize it, right? And take a lot of the stresses off of you. That way you can automate these things, right? Get a system like a MailChimp or something like that, an email generation system where you can input an email, and now you've got this automated flow that goes out to your customer. And maybe it's a flow of 5 separate emails spread out between 3 to 5 days each, and really just integrating yourself into their life, and you're educating them on who you are, what you do, and what solutions you provide to them. And that's just going to automate it for you. It's once you set up those flows in your email campaign, you don't have to really do it again unless you want to update them.
Yeah.
You can have different flows for different people depending on the products that they're interested in. And then you can do one-off type of emails once you have that email database. If you have a sale, or if you're going to be at another pop-up show or another conference, you can let your database know via email. And I think the value of having an email these days is just so important to your business, especially as you start growing.
Yeah, absolutely. having your own data is probably the most valuable thing right now. Because so yeah, 100%. And I think the creating the email funnels and things like that, as you start maturing as a business, that gets more and more important.
Yeah. Another one I just thought of was, if you're at a show and you don't know what to do, you're sitting there waiting for people to come in and no one's paying attention to you. Why don't you just set up your craft shop, your maker shop right then, there in your booth, and just start making? Let the eyeballs come to you and watch you do what you do. Bring your laser machine there. If you can get access to electricity, set up an F1 X2 laser machine right there on the spot. Start making orders that you have in the hole, and customers are going to be like, wow, what's going on over here? And that'll draw them in. So you get the opportunity to talk to them. Let them hit the button, let them hit the play button, and let them get involved in the process. And so you can just get people that way, and just bring your maker shop to your event.
Yeah. And again, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot, and I forgot, but we do that. If you've come to a MakerFlo booth, we always have something interactive, and it's because trade showing now is not like a small percentage of people do it, or it's not difficult to do anymore. A lot of people do it. So now it's like, how do you be different? How do you be interactive? How do you, again, with me, it's always about how do you start that first interaction with your customer? How do you make it easier? Because like you said, a lot of folks are just sitting in the back on their phone. Actually, at the previous Pinner show, I was talking to these two business owners, and they had their table set up where they were horizontal and they had two chairs behind it. And I literally went up to them and I'm like, all right, guys, like, I know you're not asking. Oh, no, they did ask me, like, do you have any advice? And I'm like, well, this might sound a little, forward, but
Yeah.
you guys have two chairs sitting in the middle of your booth behind a table. I could barely see you. I know if I come like 3 hours later, both of you guys are going to be on the phone sitting on there. Open the booth up, make it a U shape so people can walk in.
Hmm.
Yeah, I went to, and when I went to them next, they were not sitting anywhere. It forced them to be standing, which forced them to interact with customers, and their customers were interacting with them. So it's super important to sometimes even force yourself that way,
Yeah.
right? If you're doing trade showing, like, and if you're trying to hustle at a trade show, don't hustle backwards,
Hmm.
hustle forward. And these are kind of a lot of tips to
Yeah.
help you do that.
Yeah. You've spent damn good money at that show,
Yeah,
getting into the show.
yeah,
Well, you damn well better act like it, right? Get
yeah,
up off your feet, get up off your phone, stand up, clear your booth out, make it more space and more inviting for customers to come in and interact with you. Too many times I see people sitting there on their phones. And when I see as a customer, a potential customer, seeing vendors sitting there on their phones, I'm not going to interact with them. I don't feel like they give a damn to even
yeah,
be there. They don't want to be there, is what they're showing me. That's what your body language is showing me if you're sitting at your vendor booth, sitting down on the phone.
yeah.
So you got to be interactive, get up and make your money back and get new customers.
Absolutely. I think we've hit a lot of points on this topic.
Yeah.
So uh,
Let's dive into the next segment here. So this is a good one. So the next segment I want to talk about with you, John, is really wholesale and locally wholesale. And how do you get these wholesale clients? And what are these wholesale clients really caring about? What do they want? And what are they looking for? So kind of talk to me. If you're a customization shop, what do wholesale buyers care about the most? And what are they looking for? And how can you be a solution to them?
yeah, I think that's it. That's you said the word. I was just gonna. They want you to be a solution. That's it. If someone is ordering 1,000 of anything, they want you to be faster than they had expected. Timing is everything. If you get an inquiry for 100 tumblers and you take 3 days to response, you probably lost it to somebody else already. In fact, Mark and I have a policy where we've opened our phones at MakerFlo. Like if it doesn't ring, if CS can't handle it, or if it goes somewhere else, it comes to Mark and I, because we don't want to be in a situation where we lose it to another supplier or another customer or whatever. Timing is everything. You get a wholesale order, you better get back to them quickly because times have changed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. And again, solution, you need to understand it. It's amazing to me how many times we've converted somebody on another product because we didn't have the solution, that we didn't have the product that that company was looking for. So it's not a matter of do you have it or not. It's a matter of just being solution driven. It's understanding what your customer is looking for. Oh, you're looking for a product for all the chefs in your company. Okay, I don't do custom knives, but I have custom cutting boards. Be a solution to them. They just want a gift that fits.
Yeah. Give me some examples of people wondering, well, where do I even go for wholesale? Who is looking for wholesale in my area? Give me some examples of where do I start and who do I reach out to?
Well, there's a few things you can do. One thing that I love doing is going to Google Maps and just searching for businesses around
Yeah.
my area within a 5 mile radius. If you go to Google Maps, you could literally have a monkey do it, right? And you could because we used to do this back in the day. All right, who can I hit up, right? And you can go as restaurants, you can go whatever, pool
Mm,
companies, servicing companies, landscape. They're all listed on Google on a directory, right? And if you're wondering like, oh, am I soliciting? Am I doing this? Well, let me just tell you, sales is, it's an interesting game, right? And if you go to someone's place and it says no soliciting, make sure you respect that. But for the most part, like, if these businesses are on Google, they're searchable. You're more than welcome to go drop off that sample there, or you're more than welcome to search your 20, 30 best in the category and just mail it to them, and it's not a problem. If we get stuff all the time, we're not mad about it, right? It's just an opportunity.
yeah.
So I think that's a really easy and quick way for somebody to do it today. You could do it during this podcast till the time I'm speaking right now to the end. It might take another 5, 10 minutes. I'm not sure. I'm sure you could find 5, 6, 7 businesses to take over.
Yeah.
And that's without getting into BNI. That's without getting into all these other groups that take time, that scheduling is needed. You might have to pay for BNI. You might have to get into these groups. Another great one that I think is so is some if folks just figured this one out, which is Nextdoor. I think Nextdoor has so much opportunity. Next door is literally exactly what it is. Next door, your neighbors around your area within a certain radius.
Yeah.
Next door literally asks you where you're located, right? And that it's your local business, and you should be marketing there,
Hmm.
right? And it's such a great opportunity for someone to just take on a next door.
Yeah.
And for people that might say no one's on there, no one's doing this, no one's doing that, that is the best time to take it.
Yeah.
Just dominate it, because even if 10 people get on and you can convert 3 of those, that's better than what you were probably doing before, right?
Yeah.
So if there's nobody on next door, make sure you're the only person on next door,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about wholesale to retail stores, right? I was just in Tennessee and I was attending the Smoky Mountain gift shows. There was 3 incredible gift shows going on where vendors were set up. And who was attending these shows? Gift shops from across the country, boutique shops were attending the show, looking for new products, looking for things that were innovative, looking for things that were personalized to their area and to their store. So if you're anywhere near a tourist area in your town or city, if there's gift shops, if there's boutiques, that is a wholesale opportunity for you to go in there and offer them what you have to offer and personalized products. And I think it's important to make sure that process is easy and simple for the store to understand what's available to them, what kind of designs can you offer, what other products available, and then also making sure that the reordering is easy too. And I think you do this by allowing low MOQs. Low MOQ is very important because if you make it too high, you have to buy 100 of these at one time for a retail gift shop. They're not going to buy into that. They haven't sold this product before. They don't know if it's going to sell or not. So I think if you do a smaller quantity, like a 6 count, this is going to be a repeat customer for you if that product sells well for their store.
Yeah.
And so this is an easy in that you can use sell sheets. You can walk into these stores. Sometimes I've even, seen people do consignment. It's like, I'm so confident in my product.
Always.
I'm going to give you these 6 on the house. You pay me later once they sell, see how they go. One time consignment deal I'm doing with you. After that, I'm going to prove myself and you can start buying these wholesale from me on repeat. And I just love that idea. That gets me really excited for customization for makers across the country to get into these gift stores, because at that conference in the Smoky Mountains, there are thousands of stores looking for unique products.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we don't think of these markets because the United States is so big. But if you think about it, if there's even 50 per state, you multiply that. That's like 2,500 potential customers. There are probably so many more, right? But I
Mhm.
think I love the consignment idea. You don't have to give a lot. You just have to literally go and say, I'm going to drop off 4. I'm going to come back by the end of the week. And this is the one-time thing. If it sells well, I'm hoping to get an order from you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sell well, you don't want to carry it, you just owe me for the 4. After you sell it, there's no investment for you, right? And I think these are things you can definitely do. And if you can't afford to do it, try it in 1 store, try in 2 store. How it goes, it's just a matter of time until you do it enough times that you're going to start proving it and start doing and being successful with it.
Absolutely. Anything else regarding wholesale accounts you wanted to touch on before we move on to the next little segment here?
Yeah, I would just leave it one snippet, and maybe this is something we could do at a later time. And I think we will is if you're getting into wholesale, make sure you understand your cost basis and what your true cost is for making a product. And I'm going to say it this way: make sure you understand your wholesale cost based on producing wholesale. So do not take the cost to produce one item. Make sure you're taking your cost if you produce 25 or 30 or whatever your minimum is, because if you just try to calculate your cost to produce one item, it's going to be very high. So make sure you calculate your cost on an hourly rate, like it takes me this much to produce per hour and this is my cost, or tell yourself, okay, 500 is going to take me this much, and make sure you calculate your wholesale prices based on your wholesale production. And that's it.
Awesome. Great. Well, let's move on to the next segment here. And we don't spend a lot of time on this one, but I do want to touch on it. And it's about building signature styles for your business, because often, too many times, I see, businesses trying to just price to the bottom of the barrel and they're just hoping to get business because they're the cheapest.
Yeah.
But John, talk to me about how can a business, a customization shop, get more margins by being different and really building what their signature style is, and what are some options and ideas for signature styles?
Well, I think it could be a lot of things. I think like Catherine, who we speak with almost on a daily basis, her signature is her packaging,
Mhm.
right? It's not even the product, like, which is incredible. People are buying her stuff because she packages it beautifully, and that's where she gets her sales. And I don't think most people understand that. They haven't even seen the product and they're excited about it, right? And that's like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So that's her signature. But I don't want to talk in hyperboles, or I don't want to talk in hypotheticals, but something for us, what our signature style is quality. It's quality, quality, quality. When we talk about our products, we're not talking about price at all. I was just talking to somebody at Pinners, and I was telling them that, hey, our new laserette line is coming out. Majority of the people that I've told them about, I've spoken about the product and how we've made it better. Their first question is not what the price is, it's when am I going to get it?
Yes.
Right? I think I was so shocked. And the only reason I was shocked is when the first person asked me that, I didn't know the price. And I'm like, wait, I've talked to so many people. How do I not know like what we're going to charge for it? It's because most people were like, when is it coming out? And nobody asked about the price. And I think we made that our signature. Our quality of our product is our signature. Our packaging and everything it comes with, the unique selling propositions that we offer, the value adds that we have, all these things that we have make the product, not the price. And I think that really shows, and it really makes a difference.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, John. I would say to add to that is, what's your distinct style that makes you harder to be replaced in
Correct.
your industry? I was shown an amazing tumbler, one of our 40-ounce tumblers. It was black on the outside with the gold electroplated. This guy had done a full wrap around it with different shading, and it was a skull and all these intricate features with different shadings on the tumbler. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
I've seen people do such incredible engravings with like actual photographs and people and the shadings, and maybe that's your distinct style, is the things that are challenging to do
Yeah.
in the industry that nobody else wants to do. And boom, you found your white space right there, and you can take advantage of that.
Yeah. So clearly there's many ways of doing it.
Yeah.
It's just something that you're known for, is what essentially you're saying. And
Mhm.
and make it your own. Believe in the product, believe in yourself, and push that to the front. And again, visibility, which we talked about, make sure it's seen. And I think you'll be seen, and you'll start to get those orders.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else on that one?
I don't think so.
Okay. So basically, this last segment is going to kind of wrap things up. It's going to get into digital sales. So we've talked about local sales. We've talked about wholesale sales, right? We've talked about in-person sales, doing sales at trade shows and conferences. But the last part to really maximize your growth as a maker shop and a customization business is really the digital sales funnel. And there's different elements involved with this, but let's talk a little bit about a website for makers. John, what are some elements of a website that's conversion based? What should you be focusing on when it's time to build your website? What are some of the few things that you should make sure you specialize and you spend time on for your website?
So let me bring the title of this podcast to the forefront. I love the front of of our title, which is hustling backwards. I think one of the best ways to hustle backwards, right? That's not a good thing, is to build a website just because you think you need a website, and that's where it's left. Meaning you build it and do the absolute minimum necessary to just kind of be able to sell, right? But I think what a lot of folks don't realize is when you build that website, and let's say if you don't work on how easy it is to use, if you don't work on the photography of the website, if you don't work on the about us page, if it's difficult to find things on your website, if your logo is not optimized to your why, who you are, and is not made by either a professional designer, or you haven't used something professional to build your logo, all these things end up hurting your brand and end up hurting your sales. Now, if you're out there and majority of your sales are warm or hot sales, meaning that people if you just put up a website and you're like, yeah, I'm part of a PTA and I get enough sales, well, that's a whole different story, right? If it's people like personally, yes, they'll convert. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is, like, let's say you just put up a website and you're digitally online. And this doesn't only apply to websites. This also applies to your Etsy. If you open an Etsy store and your photos are not optimal, it just looks like you just put up a table, and you might think that that's not a big deal, but that is the biggest deal. And the only reason Mark and I know this, again, this is not just some random thought that we had or some chat GPT thing that we brought up or Google did, is because MakerFlo is on Amazon. MakerFlo is on Etsy. We have been for a long time. And you guys would probably be shocked at how much time is spent on marketplaces on a weekly basis. We had a meeting this morning at 7 a.m. and we do every week. And how much time every image, how much editing every image is that we go through, and all the words that go in it, the listings, how much intention is gone through every single step is incredible. And that's what your competition is doing. So I feel like if you go digital, there's 4 or 5 things that you have to do at minimum, right? Is having your branding straight, your logo, the feel of your website, you're making sure that it's easy to navigate and find products, making sure it's easy to order, making sure there's an about us page, your fonts are even, your colors are even, making sure all these things jive. And you don't have to hire somebody crazy to do this. You can do this yourself. So I think all those things are integral.
Awesome. Yeah. For me, oftentimes I'd like to look up our customer websites just to see, what they're doing and how they're presenting themselves. And, you know, I like to say pretty websites don't sell. Persuasive ones do. And what's persuasive to me is knowing who I'm doing business with.
Sure.
And oftentimes I go to a website and it's a personalization shop and I have no idea who they are. Like, stop trying to be the Intel or the Coca-Cola of the personalization world. Like, no, you're XYZ laser company and people want to know who they're working with. So for me, it's showing yourself on your homepage. Don't even make somebody go to the about page to find who they're working with. Put yourself front and center on that website. Have a welcome video, have some photography of yourself making the products, and really welcome your potential customers into your world to do business with you. And I think that for me is the biggest thing when it comes to mastering digital sales on your website is make it inviting. Of course, the website needs to be pretty, but make it persuasive and people want to do business with you so they can know, like, and trust, who you are.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Anything else on our quick bit there on digital sales?
No, I think that could be a whole section of its own. So, but no, I think I love it. I think you call it persuasive. I call it building the trust in the relationship. It's one of the same things. And when you build that trust and relationship, you persuade them to make that purchase, right? So I think you hit that right on the head.
Awesome. Well, guys, we're coming to an end here at our episode 5, Making with Purpose podcast. Once again, this is the Stop Hustling Backwards and Explode Your Sales Today. So if you guys know anybody in the personalization industry that would find this episode helpful, make sure you share it with them. Give this a like. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those comments in the section below. You can find us on Instagram, John and Marc on Instagram. You can also find MakerFlo on Instagram and YouTube. So give us a follow, give us a like, spread the news about what we're doing here at MakerFlo. And we hope this brings you value. And we hope you come back and watch the next one.